Welcome to Out of the World, guys, and you're joining me today in Africa. We started on a big adventure, a road trip through the southern countries of Africa, and we started in Cape Town, South Africa. We drove all the way into Namibia, where the first site is over there behind me. This is Sossusvlei.
And this is how that epic journey through Africa began. From Zanzibar, we traveled through Tanzania for the first safaris. And we couldn't get enough of it. With a stopover in Rwanda, we flew to the Table Mountain, Cape Town, and we started a road trip on the Cape Namibia route. And went on a safari in the Kalahari Desert. Now we're driving to Namibia.
And in this episode in the Sossusvlei, you see us using the 4x4 rooftop sleeper again by Brits. It's really something, guys, this adventure, because when you park your car at night and you put up the tents and you wake up under the African sun in the morning, there's nothing more relaxing than having your breakfast right next to this camper, guys.
On the way to the border, we see vultures and these rock hyraxes.
Namibia, Namibia, Namibia. Whoop, whoop. Here we are, guys, in Namibia. But I got some fresh tips for you because we had some trouble at the border. One is our kid here didn't have a birth certificate. We've been traveling for 14 months. We never used it, we never had it, but now they almost wouldn't let us in. So now we promised him to email it later when we're at the hotel. And another thing, we had to throw away all the cheese and meat that we had because it's not allowed to bring it because of mad cow disease. So if you're going to Namibia, those two things are things to think about. But we are in Namibia! Only yesterday we crossed the border from South Africa into Namibia, and we already noticed it's freaking hot over here. It's almost all desert. So we're staying in a town called Keetmanshoop, which is in the middle of nowhere, but it took us about 5 hours to get here. And it's gonna take us another 5 hours for the first destination that we're gonna visit, a beautiful site here in Namibia. So we put the camper at rest right over here, and we stay for 2 days at this lovely hotel with a garden, a swimming pool, air conditioning rooms, which is very nice, by the way, at this moment, and the restaurant. So a little bit of chillaxing, and then we move on to the Sossusvlei, which will be the first site in Namibia.
And this town is so typical for Namibia. A whole society suddenly emerges in the middle of the desert landscape. You can easily spend hours in the car here to reach any form of life. And that's exactly why we're enjoying this wonderful oasis as much as we can.
It also gives me a chance to do some work over here because I have a lot of ground to cover with all the videos. It's still Australia I'm editing, so. Wow guys, we're driving towards the Sossusvlei, and it's a couple of hours more driving towards the campsite. And if I look outside my window, it's like the sky is on fire. The sun is going down, and this is one of the most beautiful skies I ever saw in my life. Look. What an adventure, guys. We drove for 5.5 hours, and in the beginning, the first 2 hours, Sus was driving on the super smooth highway roads, and then all of a sudden it turned into Dakar Rally, and that was the part that I was driving, of course. So we're now in Sesrim. It's almost 12 o'clock midnight, and it's time to put up the tents, go to sleep, because this is the entrance to the Sossusvlei. We had a perfect night's rest, guys, and we needed that. So quiet over here, remotely in the desert. And last night it was all pitch black, so we didn't see anything yet of the surroundings. And this morning at 8 o'clock we got woken up by the burning African sun on our tents right over there. Then we saw the surroundings. They look amazing, but it's nothing compared to where we're going today, because the Sossusvlei is supposed to be even more beautiful. Gonna put down the tents and let's go.
We get used to Namibia quite fast. It's a journey back in time, and you hardly meet anyone on the way. The country is about 1.5 times bigger than France, but only just over 2 million people live here. And where we're heading now, no one lives at all. Welcome to the oldest and driest desert in the world.
On the way to the Sossusvlei there's a tiered road for 60 kilometers. You can drive it with any car to the parking lot, from where you can go with a 4-wheel drive shuttle. But on the way you already see some beautiful sights like the dunes alongside the road. And they have come up with super original names. It must have cost them so much time. This is Dune 40 behind me.
At these first dunes we see the landscape that Namibia is so famous for. The highest dune here is about 325 meters. Researchers have measured the most hours of sunshine here of all the places on Earth, and sometimes it doesn't rain here for 10 years. So you'd think that no life could exist here, but that's not even the case. I just love those gemsboks.
We drove on to the next dune, guys, with an equally original name, because this is Dune 45. Hey, she's such a balanced person. Until now.
And this was just the appetizer.
After 60 kilometers of beautiful dune scenery, we end up at this parking lot, guys, and the road ends here, the tiered road. You can only go on a 4x4 road. We do have a 4x4, but I wouldn't go there because they have a professional driver here, a shuttle service that you can take towards the Sossusvlei, and then you'll be sure not to get stuck in the sand, so let's do that. I just got a little confirmation that we shouldn't drive ourselves because the white car here behind me, I just talked to the guys and they got stuck in the sand yesterday and they could only get out today. So they slept in the car the whole night waiting for help. So that's why we don't drive ourselves.
In the blazing sun we also see springboks and gemsboks again.
If you were to Google Namibia, you would probably find pictures of one spot in particular, the Sossusvlei. Sossusvlei means dead end march, and it's right in the middle of the desert. A bigger desert because it's all part of the Namib-Naukluft National Park. But we're just visiting the Sossusvlei because it's easy to reach, it's right inside the national park and it all looks pretty much the same except for one spot. And that's the Deadfly. It's behind the hills right here and it's the most iconic place in Namibia. Within half an hour we will see the Deadfly behind the dunes over there from the parking lot. But I recommend you to go in the morning because it's turning afternoon and it gets hotter. The sand will get hot and in the morning it's all good. So right now it's still okay, but on the way back it will be warmer. This is it, guys, the most iconic part of my journey in Namibia. This is the Sossusvlei and behind me is Deadfly, the Death Valley. You can see the dead trees, which make it so iconic, hence the name Death Valley. With the red dunes behind it, it's just a unique sight for the whole world, I think. And also, it reminds me a bit of that part of the Savannah where Simba is not allowed to go in The Lion King by his father. Awesome.
The characteristic trees in this valley are almost 1,000 years old, and it is therefore strictly forbidden to sit on or climb the trees. Oddly enough, some idiots do this.
So I'm making a lot of pictures here, just walking around in the Deadfly. And what I didn't tell you yet is that I'm the only living soul here on this flat. There's nobody. It makes sense because it's turning noon and it's getting too hot for everybody. So I should get back as well. Suze and Jens are already going back because the sun is burning. But guys, look at this. If I would drop dead here, it would really be Death Valley because only the vultures would find me. I'm going back as well. Oh, my camera.
Through the sweltering hot sand, I walk back to our driver. And on the way back we passed the biggest dune of the park, called Big Papa.
What did you think, guys? I made it back. It's freaking hot and I don't want to advertise, but this Coke right here is the best sip of Coke I ever tasted in my life. Let's go back to the campsite. What a day, guys! We got to witness the most beautiful sights that Namibia has to offer here in the Sossusvlei. World famous views and everything, but there's one thing I'd like more right now, and that's a cool swimming pool. We found one at the entrance. There's a campsite called Sossusvlei Lodge, and we're gonna have a little dive over there in the swimming pool while we have the campsite right here.
And along with our camping spot, we seem to have a pet.
We're gonna travel on through Namibia and some other African countries, but for now, it's a wrap. Oh! Oh my God, guys, these roads. We're driving through Namibia, and from the Sossusvlei to Walvis Bay is probably the shittiest road I ever had in my life. There's nothing, only sand, and no houses, no towns, nothing. So it's just hoping you don't get stuck.
You can drive here all day long without encountering any towns. The only life along the way are the Gemsboks, which happen to pop up everywhere. But this changes when we reach the coast.
So let me just give you guys a little update. We just got to Walvis Bay here in Namibia and we got a little problem because the car is having trouble. In Keetmanshoek we had already changed the clutch because it got broken on the way, and now we found out that the car still has not as much power as we'd hoped. It's very heavy, but through the desert and on the hills, in the mountains, we felt that it just had trouble just coping with all of that. So now in Walvis Bay we're gonna try and find a garage again, call the company and see what they want us to do. And I think in the meantime we're gonna have to search for a hotel. I don't think there are that many campsites here, so I'll keep you guys up to date because we're traveling now for 13 months and I don't want to be stuck in Walvis Bay for the rest of my life.
What if I just lost it? Would I still be my own enemy?
But even if we do, it's not even that bad. In Namibia we feel cut up from the outside world, and then suddenly this is some luxury we didn't expect.
And it's screaming back at me. I change my clothes 1,000 times, feel worse about what I see.
So with the car being broken and all, I still think we'll be able to enjoy ourselves here in Walvis Bay because look at this pool and look at the room right over here at Iris Boutique Hotel, guys. It's awesome.
I'll take my time. I love myself when I don't love myself. I can't even post a picture.
The Irish Boutique Hotel is practically empty, and we only pay about $50 a night, with breakfast and a swimming pool.
I'm afraid of showing on my face. Standing in the mirror and it's screaming back at me.
So guys, I just called with the company and they said this pipe might have come loose because of the dirt roads. And it did, so it's easy to fix. And we'll be on the road in no time. But in the meantime, I'm gonna enjoy this hotel. Oh yeah. Seriously guys, the only thing I needed was this here, screwdriver. Because the pipe is now already fixed. Ta-da! Let's go back on the road.
Time to head out in Walvis Bay to see where we actually ended up.
Walvis Bay is a touristic hotspot on the coastline of Namibia, but it's also a very important place for the locals because it has the biggest seaport in all of the country. It's the second biggest city after the capital Windhoek. As the name suggests, Walvis, it means whales. You can see some whales along the coastline here, but it's not the right time of the year because we are here in early spring and later this year there are plenty of them and you can do some whaling tours. So not for us today, but we sleep next to the Flamingo Lagoon and it's also very fun to just drive around and see all the sights in town.
If you ask me, they might as well have called the place Flamingo Bay.
First we drive a bit to the south of Walvis Bay because over there we find one of the most important products of this region, salt. Behind me are the salt mines and they're at an extraordinary place between the lagoons where all the flamingos are at, the sea over there, and over there is the beginning of the desert with the big dunes. Kind of the end of the world, guys.
And that is a feeling that often predominates in Namibia. As if time stood still here and the rest of the world just doesn't exist.
And if we drive just a little bit further down south, we see a beautiful phenomenon called Pink Lake. Look at this color, guys.
The surroundings of Walvis Bay look like an abstract work of art. And not only here.
A little east to Walvis Bay we also drive a little bit into the desert with the nice dunes, some lagoons, and it's also protected bird area. There's a lot of birds over here.
Ninety-two percent of Namibia consists of desert and savanna. And after the Sahara, this is the most arid place on Earth. With that being said, here on the coast, the contrast with the sea is truly breathtaking. We continue along the coast, and this is the most beautiful route you can drive in Namibia.
From Walvis Bay we drove about half an hour to the north through the most beautiful desert with views on the deep blue ocean. And this is an even more cozy town than Walvis Bay because this is Swakopmund with a lot of German colonial history. I will show you the town, and Swakopmund actually in German means the mouth of the river Swakop.
And Swakop consists of the local words Tsau and Xaup, which mean anus and excrement. The river was indeed named after the poop that floated towards the Atlantic Ocean. In 1892 it was the Germans who gave the city a completely different image.
Because of the rich German history, there are a lot of beautiful colonial buildings in the town Swakopmund. We make a little drive and a stroll today in the beautiful weather, and the one behind me is the first one. This is the Hohenzollernhaus.
The Hohenzollernhaus is just one of many examples of the architecture that you can find here, all built in the neo-Baroque style.
It's like I'm walking through Germany, guys. What do you think about Wohlmannhaus behind me here?
This important trading building was later also a school and a hostel for sailors. The UNESCO World Heritage Site obviously had a violent colonial past. But today, the city has a completely different character. They still speak a little German here, but it's really Namibia.
What a cozy little town, guys. Swakopmund is really nice to walk around in, especially with this weather and all the beautiful buildings. And we saved the best for last because this is the lighthouse.
At the oldest and most beautiful lighthouse in all of Namibia, we also pay a visit to the vibrant and atmospheric beach of Swakopmund.
So we're just having our sandwiches, doing a little picnic right in town here in Swakopmund next to the playground. And now it's all for families and children, a very cozy town. But it used to be a place where they hunt for whales. A lot. So this is right next to the playground. Pretty fearsome, right? Thank God they don't do that anymore.
Yes, this is a place of great contrasts. Unique and truly a highlight of Namibia.
I didn't ever want to see you cry. Let me know that was the reason why it's over. You live a lie. I needed what you gave to me. You're everything, a living dream. I know, not an enemy. Did you feel it though? We were riding low, and only thing I know.
After a lovely sunny day in Swakopmund, it was time to find a campsite, and we did find a beautiful one. With the car over there, we're gonna put up the rooftop tents, and we have our own little private bathroom and toilet building. They do that a lot in Namibia and in South Africa as well. We love that. Tomorrow it's time to see more of this beautiful coast, which they call the Skeleton Coast. We'll visit the National Aquarium, kind of like the Namibian sea life, and we'll find some seals along the coast at Cape Cross. So we'll do that tomorrow, and now it's time to chillax because I'm tired.
Wait until we meet though.
After a month or so, I can really recommend camping with a 4x4. As we drove through the most rugged landscapes, we always have everything with us.
You're the light out in a lonely day.
Although we don't even need that much.
Oh, girl, you saved me. Way down, it's just not all we need. Like everything we live and breathe. And so won't you stay here?
And we set up the rooftop tents every evening in 5 minutes. How awesome is that?
We were riding low and only a thing I know, you think I know. We could be.
Good morning, guys. It's still early and we have a lot to do today. The first thing we do is visit the National Marine Aquarium, kind of the sea life of Namibia. Everything that you can see in front of the coast here in the deep blue ocean is inside here for us to see. So instead of taking a dive over there, this is way easier. So let's explore the sea life of Namibia.
The National Aquarium is highly recommended, especially if you're bringing children. We actually didn't expect that there would be so much to see, and we even got to learn a thing or two. There's also plenty to see outside, near the real ocean.
The National Aquarium is not really big. You can spend like half an hour, 1 hour in there. But I have to say it's really worth it because you get to see all the fish that live along the coast here in Namibia. And also the price is very reasonable because we paid about 30 Namibian dollars for adults, which is about $2 US. And Jens only paid 1 Namibian dollar, which is 6 cents. So we're gonna cruise down the coast again, the Skeleton Coast up north. And we start here at the pier in Swakopmund.
The landscape of Namibia continues to amaze us. At the rim of each town we drive completely out of civilization and again into an endless no man's land.
We're driving along that beautiful coastline in Namibia and it's named the Skeleton Coast. What I didn't tell you yet is where the name comes from. It has everything to do with all the bones and the skeletons that washed up on the shores here, of animals like seals and whales that were hunted over here, but also of humans, because there have been many shipwrecks over the last centuries here, which has everything to do with the currents and the rough sea behind me. The best example you can find is the ship called Zyla. It's behind me over there. It's got that spooky vibe and it's from 2008. So it's not that long ago, only 15 years, and that's why it's so beautifully preserved. You can look at it from the shore and it's about 14 kilometers south of Walvis Bay.
The old fishing boat Zyla had been sold by Namibian fishermen to an Indian company. It was supposed to be towed from Walvis Bay to Mumbai, but as you can see, it didn't get very far. The next stop will be just as special because some completely different sights wash up on the shore over there.
So guys, we drove a little bit more up north and end up at Cape Cross, a little bit north of Walvis Bay. And it's famous for this guy right here and thousands of his friends. And when you enter the park over here, the conservation area, you already smell them. There are thousands and together the urine smell is really disgusting. So I'm gonna walk around here a bit, see these guys and then quickly back into the car because I'm not gonna take this very long.
But is it worth it? Oh yeah! The spectacle that takes place in the water here is something you don't see every day.
So guys, I'm out here on my own because the stench is so bad that Suze and Jens decided to stay in the car. I'm out here, I've never seen so many seals in my life and they sound a little bit like there are thousands of Chewbaccas around me. I don't know if you guys are Star Wars fans, but they sound like I know what you mean, Chewie.
And so we drive on through a landscape from another world again, where you encounter almost nothing along the way. In the tiny town with the strange name of Walvis, we find a wonderful oasis for our next stay.
When we crossed the border from South Africa, we first went to Sossusvlei. And from there we went up the coast, cruising the so-called skeleton coast in Swakopmund. And we saw the seals over there. We also saw some shipwrecks, visited the aquarium. And now we went more into the land, in the middle of the desert. And this is where we slept. As you can see, you have these houses where you can park your vehicle with your rooftop tents and you have your own bathroom and your own toilet. So that's amazing about Namibia, and we're now halfway on our way to Etosha for the safari. So let's go, guys.
And we still love camping with the Brits 4x4 sleeper. We got everything with us and sleep under the African sky full of stars. By the way, this is a tiny town called Walvis, and we're on a campsite called Cactus and Coffee Tea Garden. With a kitchen and a bathroom included, we only pay about $25 a night.
Wow guys, when we're driving these dirt roads towards Etosha in the safari park, we see so many traditional African villages with these little huts and where the people are barely naked wearing traditional African clothes. This is Africa.
These people live so remote that they are super happy with some food or water. But unfortunately, it can also be a little bit dangerous to stop out here.
So you think you have had all the bad luck already? Then we got a flat tire.
But we are lucky, because only one car actually passes by and this gentleman has some experience. Ta-da! Good as new. In total, we drove about 6 hours from the coast through no man's land to arrive at the safari area of Etosha. And we can't believe our eyes when we see what we booked.
So it took us a little bit more time to get to Etosha National Park because we had to change a tire on the way. A little bit of bad luck, but this behind me is certainly no bad luck. We booked a room for a change at a luxurious lodge called Toshari Lodge on our camping trip. I'll show you the room, and we also have a super nice pool and a great dinner buffet in the evening. This is gonna be one great safari.
Of course, this costs something. We pay about 150 euros a night here, but we are in the very best spot near the entrance gate of the safari park. And I have to say, it's well worth the price. Check it out.
Kind of bizarre guys, but all the animals that you see inside the safari park, well, you can eat them here in the restaurant. Like a springbok or a wildebeest steak or a kudu. Yeah, I stick to my pea soup right now, but maybe later. Good morning guys, the sun is up here in Etosha National Park. It's still early, we're gonna have some breakfast and then it's time for the first game drive. We're going on safari. We're gonna look for 4 of the big 5 because they have lions, rhinos, elephants and leopards over here. They don't have the buffalo, so that's a shame, but we're gonna look for the rest. Let's go. From our lodge, it's about a 25-minute drive towards the gates of Etosha National Park. And there's one fuel station in the middle. And I suggest to use that fuel station and gas up the car fully because you don't want to get stuck between the lions and go there with your jerry can all the way back. And I don't think you're gonna make that. Etosha National Park was founded in 1907 and this makes it more than 100 years old. Inside is a big salt flat surrounded by bushland. And it's one of the biggest nature parks in all of southern Africa. If all goes well, we're gonna see a lot of different animals inside. So let's go in and find out why this is a place that you cannot skip when you're traveling around in Namibia. Every time that you begin your safari for the first time at one of the parks, it's always exciting which animal you're gonna see first. It's gonna be a lion, it's gonna be an elephant, and in this case it was the ostrich. No, it's not too bad.
Soon we also see many of these lilac-breasted rollers. These birds are just flying works of art.
When you're driving in Etosha in the summer, it's freaking hot, so the animals will all gather at the water holes. This is your best chance to see them. So on our way to the first water hole, we already saw a lonely giraffe right outside here.
Despite the heat, we see a lot of animals in February, because they are constantly looking for food and drinking water. And that, of course, also attracts the predators. We see a lot of Cape ground squirrels. And they got some huge nuts. We also see springboks and many birds like the crowned lapwing. And this pale chanting goshawk. We also see a lot of these black-faced impalas, and that's actually why I chose this dramatic music. We get to witness a duel between two young males. From the other side, a group of kudos is also enjoying the fight. Unfortunately, this beautiful antelope species is often on the menu in Namibia.
It's always kind of funny in the safari parks that in the zoo you have the animals in the cages, but over here when you want to go to a picnic site or to the toilets, you have to go inside the cage. So we're in the cage and the animals are outside.
The next animal that we encounter in large numbers is the zebra.
Awesome!
They sometimes run past in groups of up to 50. We have already spotted many birds of prey, such as this lesser kestrel, but I think it's about time we find some larger predators.
So we're cruising the park now for a couple of hours and it's 1 p.m. Outside it's freaking hot. What's it now?
37 degrees.
37 Celsius. So yeah, if I were a lion, I would go swimming in one of those waterholes, but we haven't seen any at the waterholes yet. We've seen a lot of things like antelopes, birds, but yeah, we're waiting for the big five and for the predators. So let's keep looking, guys.
Seeing thousands of Abdim storks and also this Kori bustard. The big five is actually closer than we think.
So we're looking at all the pretty birds over there. I was counting them, I think. But then in the back, I suddenly see a way bigger animal.
A rhino!
Yes, a rhino.
We even see several and they come very close. The rhino is seriously endangered because they are hunted a lot. That makes our meeting even more special.
Second one of the big five, guys, the elephant. Oh my god, guys, we just stopped at one of the campsites called Halali and we went in the shop to get some ice cream or souvenir. And outside was a hornbill, the one like in the Lion King called Zazu. And it was eating a butterfly. It was attacking it like that. Awesome.
Even during our lunch break, we see squirrels and a lot of different birds. This here is the violet wooded hoopoe and the grey lory.
Whatever you did, can you do some more now? Swear you got me falling for your excellence. Whatever you gave, can you take some more now? Swear you got me craving all night and day.
There are animals everywhere we look. We even see mongooses and different species of hornbills. And this right here is the southern black korhan. And a beautiful grey kite. And then suddenly, cheetahs. Finally, it's time for the predators because we also see a lot of lions.
Whatever you did, can you do some more now? Swear you got me falling for your excellence. Whatever you gave, can you take some more now? Swear you got me craving all night and day.
Wow, guys, we saw so many animals already today, but it's time for the final destination of today, which will be at O Cauquejo, a very difficult name for the campsite that has one lost waterhole where we are supposed to be able to spot rhinos and elephants if we are lucky.
Too bad. For now it's only zebras. But when the sun goes down in Africa, anything can happen.
Oh my god, guys, I was a bit disappointed because at the last waterhole I wanted to see a rhino and we didn't. So on the way back I said to Sus, I'm sure we're gonna see one more rhino, I'm sure. And just before the gates, we saw this big rhino right next to the car.
We dine in African style, thanks to the musical hotel staff.
Good morning, guys. The sun is up here at the lodge and we all had a good night's rest. Although I must say I was still looking for animals in my dreams. I had a crazy safari space night. Nevertheless, we're looking forward to the second day here in Etosha and look for more animals. Let's go.
Guys, I just can't get over it. We see so many animals in Etosha. Here are some Namakwa doves. And this right here is the marabou.
Today we make one of the northern routes in the park and we drive just along the southern rim of the biggest salt flat in the middle of Etosha. As you can see behind me, this stretches on for miles. And this is also a place where you can see cheetahs, where they can reach high speeds when they catch their prey. So I'm going back into the car.
A large group of wildebeests emerges in the woods, and they seem to have young ones. How awesome!
So we've been following the signs that say toilet for about half an hour. It's like a picnic site where you can go to the bathroom, and we found it. And this is the toilet. We stopped immediately because we saw a bunch of elephants. It's a whole family. I think it's maybe 15 and they have little ones.
The last animal that I want to show you is the red hartebeest, and then we drive out of the park.
That's it, guys, for today's episode, and we end the Etosha Safari in style at a local restaurant called KFC, African Fried Chicken.
Stay tuned because next time we take a tiny border crossing into Botswana. I promise it will be an adventurous episode with a lot of ups and downs. So subscribe for even more adventure and of course the continuing search for the leopard. Ciao!